Hello everyone, I'm Lee. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use multiple files in your project. Now let's take a look at this intro class project. In this one, we have 2 header files and 3 implementation files. In bankaccount.h, this first header file, it contains a class definition. You can use a class to create a new data type. Just like using struct, you can use it to create a brand new data type called bank account. And now let's take a look at this header file. It contains a couple of function prototypes. Read int, read double, read char, read string. They all work with standard input. And pay attention, these are just prototypes. So usually in header files, we put named constant, some global constant variable, and we put function prototype, and we put new data type definition in the header file. So usually those 3 things go into the header files. And take a look, here are the prototypes, and look at this new type definition. We have some member functions there. They all end with semicolon. That means they're not implemented in this header file. So header files by themselves, they serve as a contract. In order for header file to be useful, you have to implement it somewhere. So for example, in bankaccount.cpp, it's an implementation file for bank account class. In this one, you go ahead and implement the constructor and the get balance, those member functions. And this one called scope resolution operator. That means this function bank account is inside of this bank account class, and get balance is inside of this bank account class. It's not a global function, it belongs to that class. Okay, so that's about header file and implementation file. How to create a header file? Very similarly as source file, you can right click on header file and say add new item, and choose header file, give it a name, select a location. That's about it. So that's how you create a header file. Now let's take a look at what's inside of the header file. So we have the directives, if not defined, and if. We will talk about this in a moment. So how to use a header file? Let's see. Bankaccount.cpp is going to implement this bankaccount.h, so you have to include it. So you're going to use this data type, include the .h. Pay attention to the double quote. When you include the library, you use this less than and greater than symbol, but when you use your own header file, you use double quote. And for example, this import tools.cpp, it include this guy. And for the test class, we need to use both header files, so we go ahead and include both. So that's how you use a header file. Now let's take a detailed look at the header file contents. Take a look. So we have the directive says if not define some unique symbol. This symbol has to be unique in this project. I like to use the file name and capitalize all the letters there. Not define. So these 2, they have to agree with each other. And if. So you need to wrap every header file with if not define. For example, let's take a look at this one. If not define, and if. Why do we have to do that? So you do this just in case somebody includes this header file more than once. So when you include a header file, essentially you're copy and paste whatever in this header file in your client code. So if you include it more than once, then you got 2 copies of this header file, then you got redefinition errors. So to avoid this error, we need to surround every header file with if not define, and if. But you might be wondering why somebody want to include you twice. Think about this scenario. you're writing a client code. You need to use A.H and B.H. So you're going to go ahead and include A.H and B.H. Unfortunately, in A.H, it already includes B.H. So that means you include B.H twice. So this is kind of a nested header file inclusion. So just remember, when you create a header file, surround your header file with those three directives. Okay, as a summary, what's for header file and what's for implementation file? We put the prototype, the global constant, and the new type definition in the header file. Pretty much in the header file, it has no trace of implementation. It only contains the contracts. And in the implementation file, we put detailed implementation there. So as a client, they really care about your header file. We call it dependency. So bank account.cpp include bank account.h. So it depends on bank account.h. So when you modify bank account.h, this CPP file need to be modified. And similarly, test class.cpp includes both header file. So when you modify what's inside of the header file, most likely you're going to modify test class.cpp. But when you modify the implementation detail, test class.cpp doesn't need to be modified, but you need to recompile the whole thing. Thank you.